Hello everyone, it's DiegoDoom here, and today I'm bringing you another review. Today I'll be reviewing Max Factory Biofighter Collection release number 9, Gigantic Dark. Gigantic Dark comes from the 1985 manga Bio Booster Armor Guyver. After the appearance of Guyver Gigantic, Guyver 3 soon learns he also has the ability to summon the Gigantic Armor. However, there are two setbacks. The Gigantic Armor can only be equipped by one user at a time, and also, the Gigantic Armor can be snatched away from its current user if the individual summoning it has more willpower. So, if you all have not done so already, definitely check out the manga Bio Booster Armor Guyver, as well as the several animated adaptations. They're all very nice, very neat, and very cool. But nonetheless, Max Factory Biofighter Collection release number 9, Gigantic Dark, is another fantastic release in the Biofighter Collection. Gigantic Dark has a fantastic sculpt, fantastic paint applications, fantastic accessories, and fantastic articulation. So this figure is absolutely fantastic and definitely very nice, very neat, and very cool. So first, let's take a look at Gigantic Dark's accessories. Gigantic Dark comes with 2 pairs of hands, a pair of Giga Smasher accessories, 1 additional head, 2 sets of high frequency swords, 1 gravity ram accessory, and 1 stand. So first let's start with the hands here. And the first pair of hands that Gigantic Dark comes with are his open hands here. These are very nicely done, so they're absolutely fantastic and definitely very nice, very neat, and very cool. So, on the outside of the hand here, a very nice sculpt going on the armor side of the hand with biological parts coming out of the individual knuckle joints, so definitely cool there. On the inner palm here, you see more of the biological side of the armor, and it's very nicely done. A great sculpt for the lines here, very monster-esque here, so definitely cool there. And as always, this is somewhere where they could have cut corners, but they did not, and it's greatly appreciated. So, the next pair of hands that Gigantic Dark comes with are his Giga Smasher hands. Same great sculpt on the outside, same great sculpt on the inside. So this is very nicely done, and I'm truly impressed by the biological side of the hand here. So definitely cool. Nice gripping hand here. Definitely cool. So how these hands attach, we're back to the same old peg system here, which can be a little bit worrisome. So all we have to do is match up the peg with the hole in the hand here. And as always, do this procedure with extreme care and caution because you don't want to snap off this peg or, break the arm or put any unnecessary pressure anywhere else. So all we're going to do is just push that in. And I noticed too, you have to put this in at a proper angle so it will go in. Otherwise the peg will just kind of swing everywhere. So let's see if we can get that in. And let's see. Once you have it on or started, I like to just kind of wiggle it back and forth versus force pushing it in because that can be kind of bothersome, but still, now we have the hand attached, so it's definitely very cool there. Very nice. So, the next accessory that Gigantic Dark comes with are his Giga Smasher accessories. So, let's go ahead and prep Gigantic Dark first. So what we're going to do, we're going to open up his chest panels here and handle these with care because these chest panels are inserted with pegs here. And if you pull too hard, there's probably a chance you can snap these pegs off. So just open these with care. So don't just snatch them open or anything like that. Then we're going to rotate these center orbs in this chest here. And we're going to rotate this one clockwise just a little bit. And the other one counterclockwise just a little bit. Okay. And you may have to open, or not open, but move the arms so these panels can open up all the way to be rotated. So get that a little bit more. So now we have the Giga Smasher accessories here. They're very nicely done. Now mine are a little bit dusty, so please excuse that, but still, a great biological sculpt going on the outside. On the inside, you have more biological material here, so definitely cool. Now how these attach, there are pegs here that line up with the holes we just revealed by rotating these orbs here, and just push those in ever so slight and snug. They kind of go in there. That's one. Now one thing to note also, if you do not rotate the center orbs enough, these pieces will not attach. So that's how you know whether you have it or not, if you can attach these properly. So we get that here. And push that in as best we can. So now we have Gigantic Dark ready to do his Giga Smasher. So absolutely fantastic there. Definitely very cool. So I'm going to pull these back out. We're going to take a look at the next accessory here. So as always, remove these with care. And then make sure you rotate your orbs back in place. Otherwise, the chest panel, well, the chest panel will close, but it will kind of force these back into place. And something about that doesn't seem too safe. So rotate them properly, and then close the chest panels back. So there we have them back in order. So definitely cool there. So the next accessory that Dark comes with is his additional head. Now this head is absolutely fantastic here, a great sculpt going on. This head shows gigantic Dark with his sonic orbs exposed. So definitely cool here. We have the original head here. So as you can see, a big difference there, but still, both heads have an amazing sculpt, and we'll get into that sculpt just a little bit later here. So absolutely fantastic. Now, how these heads attach, we're just going to remove the main head here off the figure. Now, I must admit, this can be very difficult at times, but this one isn't as bad as the other gigantic figure. So let's see if we can get that off. There we go. Came off a lot easier there. And then we're just going to attach the other head. Now, I may not be able to get this on because this head seems to not want to come on all the way. And I don't want to stress the figure out. So we can get that on there. Nope. I don't really want to risk it because as I'm swapping the heads, I'm putting a lot of pressure on the chest, and there seems to be no other way but to do it like that. So I'm just going to be cautious with that. We'll just put the other head back on. But you guys get the gist. And the head snapping firmly into place, and you can see it takes a lot of force and pressure. And it kind of scares me because I don't want this figure to snap in half or anything, because this figure is probably second, third most expensive in the line because of our secondary prices, but still very cool. So the next accessory and the most worrisome accessories that Gigantic Dark comes with are his high frequency blades. And the biggest concern here is the shortest retracted blade here. And what I'm talking about here is the simple fact that when we swap out the blades, it's fairly simple top down. So we're just going to pull this out. And it's pretty cool because the blades are actually, holes in the blades actually peg in, or excuse me, that's not that cool. It's actually the reverse of what I was trying to say, but the pegs are not inside of the blades, they're actually inside the forearm, which can be a little bit troublesome. So, blades are out pretty simple. Pull this one out. Pretty simple there. Now, we're back to the retracted blade. What I'm talking about here, in the forearm here, you actually have the pegs in the forearm versus the actual pegs beyond the blades and going in. Now with the retracted blade, it's the total opposite here. And it's very hard to get out, and I've heard a lot of reports of people's shortest retracted blade breaking off in the forearm. And honestly, I do not know of a good way to get this out. So what I do is I just kind of tip it out. Let's see if we get that around. What I like to do is I just kind of tip it out and try and pull it out, but I'm just going to tip it out all the way. I wouldn't recommend doing this. You can see it's a small peg inside, so I don't know why they decided to do that, but it really doesn't feel safe when swapping these blades out. But at the end of the day, just if you handle it with care, you should be okay. So we have the blades removed. Now the actual blades themselves are very nicely done here. Now they are simple pieces of plastic, but they're nice, sharp, and jagged. Very manga accurate. Absolutely fantastic there. So the shortest one, the middle one, and then the longest one. So definitely very cool here. And how these all attach, we're just going to peg them all in. So remember, the shortest one actually pegs into the forearm versus the forearm kind of pegging into the other blade. So just kind of handle it with care there. And it's not so hard about getting it in. It's about getting them back out is what's the scary part. So we'll get that in there as best we can. Let's see. That's not in there all the way, but you do get the gist. So we'll get the other one in, like so, and these will be a lot easier, and that short one just fell out. So as you can see, the others are a lot easier to put in because they actually peg into the forearm, but you know, even still, that's a little bit nerve-wracking because I would prefer the pegs coming out of the blades, but something about the construction here is strange, and you know, and the fact that these pegs will break off with the short piece. So we'll go ahead and get that in there as best we can. If we can't get it, we won't worry about it. So, as you can see, we have the gist of Gigantic Dark with his high frequency blades attached. All three of them, very jagged, very sharp, and very long. So it's definitely very cool there and very nicely done. So, the next accessory that Gigantic Dark comes with is his gravity ram accessory. So we'll take a look at that over here. This accessory is definitely very cool. It's a red translucent piece of plastic here, but it is very sharp. Pretty simple there. Very nicely done. And how this pegs in, we just grab Gigantic Dark yet again. And we're just going to remove this center peg piece out of here. Get that out. And just peg it in like so. And it does go in a certain way, as you can see. And just line that up as according. Get that in there. And that's pretty much it. So now we have Gigantic Dark with his gravity ram. So definitely very cool. So, give me one moment and we'll go ahead and set up Gigantic Dark with his gravity ram and take a look at the stand. So now we have Gigantic Dark with his gravity ram accessory attached and his stand. So first let's take a look at the stand. So the stand is definitely very nice, very neat, very cool, and very standard as always with the Biofighter collection in the fact that we have the same black matte finish here with the Bio Booster Armor Guyver logo inset with a nice glossy finish. So this is definitely very cool here, but also the stand is actually articulated for vertical movement. So it's absolutely fantastic there. So what we're going to go ahead and do is set up Gigantic Dark in a pose utilizing his gravity ram. So we'll go ahead and grab him here and snap that into place. And the same rule applies as with all the figures in the Biofighter collection. The stands fit very firmly and very snugly. So, you know, just kind of attach these with care because you don't want to rub off the paint on the sides of your figures. See if I can get them in there as best I possibly can. There we go. It was a very hard thing. Hope I didn't scratch anything, but still. And we'll go ahead and maybe bend a knee, something like that, and rotate an arm. Have it look way up and pop the head up too. So now we have Gigantic Dark using his gravity ram. So excuse the somewhat limp pose, but still you guys get the gist here. So definitely very cool. So now we have Gigantic Dark's accessories out of the way. Let's go ahead and take a look at the Gigantic Dark figure itself. So now let's take a look at the Gigantic Dark figure itself. Gigantic Dark has a fantastic sculpt, fantastic paint applications, and a fantastic range of articulation. So first we'll begin with the head here. So the head is on a ball joint here. Get some focus going on there. So he can look left, he can look right, he can look very high up, and he can look very far down here. Now one thing to note, the ball joint is on a separate joint itself, which gives this extra movement of looking down. So definitely very cool there, and he can look very high up thanks to that extra joint. So this is absolutely fantastic there. So in the shoulders here, Gigantic Dark's shoulders can actually move forward quite a bit, which gives a better range of motion. So it's great for when he's grabbing his chest for his Giga Smasher. Also, the shoulders can rotate and probably do a full 360, but I won't demonstrate that, but it's very nicely done there. The bicep can rotate around. Now, on my figure, the joints are kind of tight, so when you're rotating your biceps, just kind of be careful there. Then in the elbows here, you have a nice double jointed elbow going on here. Let's get that up and all the way. Very cool there. Absolutely fantastic. Also, the hands are on the pegs, so they can actually rotate just a little bit. So, very nicely done there also. One thing to note, in the instructions previously, I mentioned that it seems like your arms aren't supposed to be fully straightened out, but I think what they actually meant was your forearms are not supposed to rotate around full 360, so I'm not really sure what they meant by it, but if your forearms seem to be resistant to rotating, don't push it any further because, you know, these figures are way too expensive to risk anything like that. Now, on my figure, they do rotate just a tiny bit. I might have worked that in a little bit when I shouldn't have, but still, do be careful of rotating the forearms there. But still, it's very nicely done. In Gigantic Dark's chest here, he can move very high up and very far down, which helps his looking, so he can look extremely high up or extremely far down, so very nicely done here too. And you can actually rotate just a tiny bit, but don't overdo that. In the waist here, you can rotate left and right just a little bit, so it's very nicely done there. Then in the legs here, the legs can move forward and back quite a bit. Very nice. Then the legs can also come out to the sides a little bit, and they're only hindered by this armor piece here, so definitely cool there. Then in the knees, you have that almost but not quite double jointed knee. Very cool there. Then the feet articulated, move those up and down just a little bit, and the toes seem to be tiny, slightly articulated there, so it's okay there. I wouldn't really worry about moving those toes though. Also forgot to mention, the biceps here can actually move out just a little bit. What's very cool is the gravity sensors here, the gravity pieces here, I think that's what they're called, they're actually articulated also, so that gives you more room to move these arms out. So very nicely done there. But also, as you can hear this thing popping and snapping, that doesn't mean it's breaking, but as always, just handle this entire figure as well as this entire figure line with care, because you don't want to break these because they're just so expensive. but still at the end of the day, they're great figures. So, on to Gigantic Dark Sculpt here. It's absolutely fantastic and definitely manga accurate and spot on here. So in the head here, absolutely perfect here. Very nice biological parts going on for the sensory orbs here. Nice spikes going on here. The eyes seem to be made of translucent material, so in the right light they kind of glow. Same with the heat beam here. Absolutely spot on here. Very great sculpt going on. Definitely very cool. As far as the rest of the body, it is pretty much exactly like Guyver Gigantic, except, a different paint scheme, but also the forearms have the 3 blades attached. But still, another great sculpt as always. The nice orbs here, pretty much compound like the SH Figuarts Kamen Rider Compound Eye, so very nicely done there. Now, please excuse the dust going on here. And what I've come to learn, it seems like the Max Factory Biofighter collection seems to be dust magnets because it's just dust just gets all over them instantly for some reason. I constantly have to clean these figures off, and I didn't notice how dusty this guy was, but just please excuse that. But still, very cool here. Very nicely done here. The gravity orbs here and all over the body. A great sculpt. The nice biological lines going on for the inner part of the thighs and the forearms here, so this is a great sculpt going on. Truly great sculpt. Absolutely fantastic here. A really nice figure here, and definitely worth the money. This is definitely a must buy if you can afford it, because I really love this figure. It's just the best. So definitely very cool. So now that we have the Gigantic Dark figure out of the way, let's go ahead and conclude this review. To conclude the review, Max Factory Biofighter Collection Release number 9, Gigantic Dark, is another fantastic release in the Biofighter Collection. Gigantic Dark has a fantastic sculpt, fantastic paint applications, fantastic accessories, and a fantastic range of articulation. This figure is absolutely fantastic and definitely very nice, very neat, and very cool. Now, as always, collecting the Biofighter Collection can be an extremely expensive task, so if you are a true fan of the Guyver series, Gigantic Dark and Guyver 3, absolutely pick this figure up. It is simply fantastic. Also, if you all have not done so already, definitely check out the manga Bio Booster Armor Guyver, as well as the several animated adaptations. They're all very nice, very neat, and very cool. This has been another review by DiegoDoom. Thank you very much for watching, and please stay tuned for more figure reviews. Like, comment, and subscribe.